struggling mentally, it's because you're also struggling physically.
When you're first starting a business, you're everything. And you are absolutely your worst boss you've ever had.
I've experienced failure at startup. I've experienced success. I just don't know what's going to happen. But you just have to have sort of like that personality and take that stress out right away.
Welcome to this edition of the Balanced CEO podcast. I'm lucky enough today to have Alice Heck. She's not only my neighbor, she's a member of my gym, CFT Fitness, and has been for many years. And she's also an entrepreneur and a very skilled person in the corporate world, right? So let's start at the very beginning, not like, when you were born beginning, but let's start at the beginning of how did PolyGirl come around? Because, that's your thing you're doing now. And I kind of want to make sure that's really highlighted, but I'm also really curious. I know it's a funny story of how this thing launched. Kind of happy accident that it launched when it did?
Happy accident. And I'll go back a little bit. So my business background is in, as you mentioned, corporate marketing. So I worked for tech marketing for over 20 years and working on a lot of startups and also some Fortune 500 companies. And so I've learned a lot through the process. And that was actually an accident too, getting into marketing. But I started out as a coordinator, moved up to running trade shows and events, and then finally fell into what they call the demand generation area of marketing, which is really driving sales and pipeline.
Got it.
Part of that, you have to learn how to do brand awareness, drive brand awareness, as well as creativity, as well as marketing operations. So sort of full-fledged of marketing experience.
That's really cool. I've never heard that term for essentially what we call in the gym industry, like the lead acquisition, lead generation, nurture, and acquisition. So it's like a three-pronged approach in the gym world. So
yeah, that's it. It actually came out of a lot of tech companies, marketing tech companies came up with what they call marketing operations, marketing automation, so MAP. And so from there, they developed these things like, if you think about HubSpot, if you think about Constant Contact, they developed this framework of create demand, get people into your website. Oh, they're there. They're there. So go and get their email, right?
Right,
and
get their info.
The whole nurture process. So it's a same name, but it's basically marketing, right?
Yeah.
So I did that for a number of years. I have experienced several layoffs, especially working for startups, and that's just a risk that you take when you're working for startup companies.
Been there.
And so had fun experiences there. And the tech industry, as you know, has been sort of like hammered this last couple of years. And so experienced another layoff. And from there, I said, okay, well, I need to just take a step back and think through if I really want to go through this again, right? Given the way that the industry is. And so I decided that I maybe would take my experience and go into consulting.
Yeah.
You and I spoke about that.
That's right. We did at the Redbridge store.
Yes. I came out and gave me some advice around that. And I thought I was going to take that route. And then I went home and I kind of played around with logos and trying to position the company, position myself as a consultant. And I was on this platform called Canva, and you create stuff on Canva.
Oh, yeah.
Right? A lot of people use that. So then I saw a red hibiscus, right? And I'm like, I'm going to drag this over here to the canvas and see what it looks like. And then somehow the words PolyGirl just came up, right? And so for those who don't know, I'm Polynesian, Pacific Islander, and we call ourselves the women in Polynesia PolyGirl, right? And so I'm like, I'm just going to write that in. And so I did. I'm like, I love how this looks. And then all of a sudden I was reminded of who I am. And so I'm like, okay, I wonder what this would look like on a T-shirt. So I mocked up a T-shirt. I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks kind of cool. And so I asked my son, Toa, what he thought about it. He thought it was amazing. So he encouraged me to continue playing around with this whole concept. But then the stories just kind of organically evolved, right? In terms of I identify with this logo. My lived experience as a Polynesian woman in America or, throughout the world kind of just came alive. Like things that in the corporate world, especially tech, there's not a lot of Polynesian women. And so a lot of my experience there was, just going, climbing the ladder and living that experience. But I could never identify with another Polynesian woman because I didn't see any.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's how I was born. And then I just kind of lately, and so David and I decided we're going to start a business around that. David, my husband, and I co-founded the company.
And David is also from the islands, but he's
He's Samoan.
Samoan.
Yeah.
Correct.
So David is half Samoan. His mom is from Samoa. I am Tongan. So I'm from the Tongan Islands. I was born in Fiji. So kind of like we cover a lot of the Polynesian islands in terms of our heritage.
Yeah, it's a huge expanse of islands too. Like I don't think people realize how broad the distance is between these islands that all summarize that world.
Yes.
A quick question, because I know this is going to be something that people get confused about all the time. What is the difference between Hawaiian, Tongan, Samoan? Because I know Hawaii has a lot of Samoans, so it gets very easy to confuse those cultures.
So Hawaii is sort of like the gathering spot for a lot of Pacific Islanders. But Hawaii is Polynesian. So if you think about, there's three groups in the Pacific Island. There's the Polynesians, which includes the Hawaiians, the Tongans, the Samoans, Tuvalu, and other small groups, right? And then there is the Melanesians, which is includes the Fiji, which we also consider Fiji Polynesian because there's a lot of Polynesians.
A lot of crossover.
Right?
Yeah.
The Solomon Islands. So I have nieces and nephews who are from the Solomon Islands, and they are my brother's kids. And then there are the Micronesians, which is the, places like Guam.
Got it. Okay.
Right? And so there, in terms of culture, Polynesian culture is fairly similar, I should say.
Got it. So for someone who's been to Hawaii, Polynesian culture would be something they'd be fairly familiar with just from being around everything there. Okay. That's cool. That's good to know. Cause you see that all the time. We go every year and it's interesting to see all the blends of cultures. Right. And you hear that, the Polynesian Cultural Center and places like that really represent that. But then, people are very quick to correct someone.
Yes.
I'm Hawaiian. I'm not Samoan. I'm not. Right. Yes. So, I think it's good to get that distinction.
Yeah.
But for PolyGirl, that includes Hawaiian descent.
So PolyGirl, so Poly stands for Polynesian, right? Short for Polynesian. Right. But actually it's an identity for all Pacific Islanders, right? Because if you think about the word poly, it means many. And Polynesia means many islands. So poly, many, Nesia, island. So many islands. But then also in terms of a woman experience, there are many experiences for women, right? So PolyGirl stands for, it's broader than that. It's easier for us Polynesian Pacific Islanders to identify with the word because we live it, right? But if you think about it in terms of the many aspects of a woman's experience, the many journeys that she has, the many aspirations that she has, where she is in her path, it actually represents that as well.
Okay. That's really cool. I honestly love it. I love the design. I saw you guys were out at an event here recently. Did really well representing. I know, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of Polynesian women in tech.
Right.
Do you think that's just something that needs to be more promoted within the families? Like Polynesian women need to promote their daughters to believe they can get into tech? Or you think this is something where it's like, they just kind of follow the family career path?
I think it's, well, first of all, fairly new, right, to America in terms, if you think about other ethnicities, we're fairly new. I mean, there might have been some folks here in the 50s and 60s, but I would say there was a big influx of Polynesians and Pacific Islanders in the 80s and 90s, and even now, right? And so we're fairly new. We're lots of first generations. And so like any first generation ethnicities, we are sharing homes, right? So that way if you think about Polynesian homes right now, there's lots of families within one home because everybody's sort of trying to get their footing in order to move on.
Right. You got to pull each other up.
Yes. And so if you think about when, I think about, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, for example, how grandma and grandpas were in the same room, bed.
Right.
That's how it was back then. Maybe, I don't know what it was, Irish?
Yeah, the British, I think. British. Yeah.
So similarly for us Polynesians and Pacific Islanders, the same thing. We share, right, our homes with our relatives and our with our parents in order to kind of in order to move forward. So, and because of that, a lot are new to maybe the educational process. to the corporate world. And so I was lucky enough that I kind of just stumbled across tech and I loved it. But I think there's a second generation now. My kids, for example, have
Mm-hmm.
sort of seen, are now sort of understanding how to move around freely because they were born here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they know how to climb or go out and get, find their own path versus us, who are sort of like the older generation now that are kind of just had to find our way blindly.
It's kind of, you had to get in where you fit in.
Yes.
And with your kids, they have a bigger scope of what's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. And they live in better neighborhoods and
Mm-hmm.
they have the internet now and social media is sort of guiding, giving them a lot of examples of how to be and how not to be. So I think they have, good foundations.
Well, and the ones that I've met, they all have really solid heads on their shoulders. So I
Yes.
don't think they're heading anywhere but up.
Yes.
So I think you guys did a great job of raising them based on everything I've experienced.
Thank you.
Good kids. So tell me more about, you're doing all this, right? You're doing tech. Startups don't have normal 9 to 5 hours. I mean, anyone that knows startups, that is a 10, 12, 18 hour day kind of commitment. It doesn't matter whether you're the janitor or the CEO.
Right.
How are you finding time to be a mom, be a wife, be healthy, right? Because I know fitness is an important part of your life. And I know just from experience, you are an incredibly dedicated and focused worker, right? There was days where we had to almost have, we had to kind of throw the life vest out there and go, it's time to come back.
Yes.
We had have an intervention, like
Yes.
put the computer down, give us
Yes.
60 minutes of your time.
Yep. That is definitely the life of, a newfound business owner.
Right.
So I think, again, going back to my experience in startup in the tech world, those were long hours and you had to wear many hats, right? And so it may have been a company that hadn't been funded yet, right? Where there's no capital just yet, but you just kind of get in there. But I love that because I learned the most there, right? Just give it to me and I'll figure it out. Now, moving in or pivoting to a business owner, sort of bring that experience, right, with me. But there is definitely some non-negotiables for me in terms of like how I run my life. And that is, there are 3 things for sure, right? It's definitely faith. Right?
Okay,
I
love that.
believe that in a higher power. I know that God is guiding my path. I prioritize a family, right? I mean, I'm sure throughout my marriage and, raising kids, there have been some times where it's hard to prioritize family, but I prioritize the family. And then I definitely prioritize fitness.
I love that.
Cannot start my day, or I've started my day without fitness, but there's been days that are, I don't feel right. And so especially coming here to CFT and your amazing staff, right? Pushing, challenging me, whether it's, go for a mile run or lift heavier, with great guidance. That has been a blessing to me. It's almost like a little 5 a.m. church, right? In our little group that we join here. But it helps me start the day with intention. So those are just 3 things that I have to start my day with. And then it feels like it can handle whatever challenges are coming as a business owner. Because as you know, anything could go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. You can have a forest fire in the blink of an eye.
Right.
I think that's amazing because I've witnessed you came to CFT in 2020, was it?
Yes.
Post-pandemic.
Yes, it was.
Kind of mid to late 2020, I feel like.
It was 2020.
You and Michelle both came in together.
Yes. We were at another gym and they were not as consistent in terms of being open, right? And again, we're 5 a.m.ers even back then. The 5 a.m. classes weren't as available. And so that was frustrating. And so I just said, Michelle, we're going to go check out this gym, this CrossFit box. In fact, actually, funny story is I joined CrossFit when it was first started down the street.
Okay.
Years
So
ago.
years and years ago. That's where I started.
Yes. I hated it.
That was a different world back then. There was no rules. There was no structure. It was just, all right. Just
luck.
move until you puke and then, hope you can walk tomorrow.
That was it exactly. I think, I forget what year it was, but I did join and I made Michelle Zaragoza, my best friend, come with me. And we went there, and I think it lasted 3 months.
That's incredible.
It was, I think I wanted to faint. They had me pushing tires the first day, and it was just no structure around it. And I said, you're right, this is not for me. I need a little bit more hand holding. So the second time around when we came back, I said, we're just going to check it out because it's the only gym that's open in town. And sure enough, we had a nice tour with Chris Mitten.
Yes.
Who encouraged us to come back. I think the foundation process that you guys have in place has been very, very helpful.
That's
and
amazing.
then it's just a great atmosphere. The coaches have been amazing. Shannon's an amazing coach and everybody else, but I think it's the encouragement and the actual coaching.
Yeah, I think it's what we really put a focus on, like you said, was the consistency of the coaching.
Yes.
And it wasn't the consistency. We figured out the consistency of showing up every day at 5 a.m. if you don't pull a me and whiff on the schedule on a random day. But it's only happened twice in 9 years. So, but yeah, I think the consistency thing was always really important to us. And then, shout out to Chris Mitten. He kind of, when he took over the gym as the owner back in the day, I don't think he gets enough credit. A decade plus ago when he took over, of refining the process and the class to be more focused on modification and meeting people where they were rather than the initial kind of, definition of CrossFit, which was, the Pukey the Clown and all these like really hardcore things. And we were still against the grain compared to the average everyday fitness goer. Mm-hmm. And we still are, I feel like. But our stance on going against the grain is we're not here for price. We're not here for access. We're here for coaching results. Yeah. Right. Meeting you where you are and pulling you up to the next level.
I started off with a PVC pipe and I was tired. And so now I am loving being able to challenge myself and lift heavier. And even to today, I was being coached when I was lifting a PVC pipe. And, as much as this morning, I was still being coached on how to do a deadlift correctly. So amazing team.
I love that. So let's talk about that. So you've been doing fitness. I mean, that's been an important thing for you for a very long time. I mean, the 3 F's that you mentioned, it reminds me of a mentor that I have. He has 4. His 4th one is finance. Nice. So that's just encompasses, investing, saving, your job, any money that's coming in and how you kind of are a steward of that. And I think that's really important. Like you mentioned that you got to have something you believe in. Mm-hmm. You've got to have the fitness part. Cause if you aren't there for yourself, there's no way you can be a rock for anyone else. Yep. And then obviously you have family. I mean, to me, if you're going to go alone, there is no more money in the world that can make you want to continue growing. Right. It's your family. It's the people that matter to you that make you want to grow. Yes. What is that influence for you? So at this point, pretty much everybody's out of the house. Are you guys empty nesters technically at this point or just about?
Kind of. Our 2 youngest are now, we have 5 kids. And so our 2 youngest are now in college. And so they're off. Our middle son is at home, working from home. He just got engaged. So he's going to
save some money and get all the stuff figured out.
Yes. So I'm very proud of him. But speaking about, again, family, Polynesian families, my mother and my mother-in-law are with us. Right.
Oh, that's cool.
So we are sort of like not empty nesters. Mm-hmm. One is 86 and one is 85. But the most active women, right? They are in the garden. They go to do ukulele lessons. And so they're not your typical 80-year-old. So
they got purpose.
That when I get to that age, that I'm actually still very active. But so we are not really empty nesters, and we don't need to watch them or take care of them because they're very independent, but they are home with us.
That's amazing. I mean, you know what? That's amazing genetics too. If I was one of your kids, I'd be like, I'm going to live forever. Like, look at the genetics of this. Like, it's both sides. Yes. The probability of me living forever is very high.
Yeah. And they have been very helpful throughout us, raising the kids. It's just been the wisdom was this. So David and I commuted a lot when we were working. Mm-hmm. And so my dad was there before my mother-in-law joined us. But he and my mom would take the kids to all the football practices, the baseball games, and my daughter did rugby or volleyball. They were the parents that were there, And I think that's definitely why they come across more grounded, because we weren't home as much. In fact, there were times we'd go to games and people would ask us who we are, whose parents are you? Like,
Hey, we've all been
well,
there.
yeah.
My son's got that too with his Mimi and Papa.
Yep.
And we'll go places and they'll be like, who are you again? And I'm like, I birthed that. That's mine. Yeah. You don't see the resemblance
Right,
here?
yeah. Yeah. So I think it's if anything, I've learned from this as well too, is the importance again of family, but very close, right? Being
Right.
together. And some may think is a little too much, but again, going back to our Polynesian roots, that's how we live.
I really feel like the more I get out there, the more people I interview, the more cultures I get a chance to learn about. It's really just the US and Canada
Yeah.
are some of the few places that don't
Have
value that as highly as everyone else.
I think it's coming around.
I'm noticing it.
Yeah. It's
You
coming
know,
around.
there's more houses with ADUs now. There's
Yes.
more of a focus on space for loved ones
Yes.
and less of a focus on retirement homes.
Right. Yes.
And I think that's great because absolutely, unless they are medically in need of specialist care,
Yeah.
they should be at home
Yeah.
with someone that is going to care about them the way they cared about you.
Yep. There's definitely a lot of warmth around it.
So PolyGirl's going on. Is that your main focus now?
It is
100%.
100%.
I love that.
So yeah, it's interesting because I'm now in my 50s, right? And so it's a pivot, and it's a little bit scary, sometimes stressful, but I love it because again, it's sort of like changing this identity, right? This thing that I'm in corporate marketing, and now I'm like this. That was what I identified myself as in my career, and I'm now a business owner in fashion or apparel. Right. So there's a full
You can own
circle
that. You can
story
own
on that.
fashion for sure. I've seen those clothes. That's fashion.
So it's a different approach. And so yes, we stumbled upon that a little bit by accident, as I explained earlier. But David and I took some time to kind of test the market. So we stood up a website, we built an Instagram presence, and we kind of just did some email marketing, just using what I know from my experience. And then just recently, in the last 60 days, we started going out to the community. So there's been several cultural festivals and events, and I want to test like the reaction, right? And that's, in business, it's like what you call like product market fit. Does your target audience truly want this thing? So they may say so on Instagram and they might buy some things online, but do they truly resonate? And so we've gone to a few, and we've had some pop-up shops, and it's been an amazing, humbling experience. So a lot of kids walk in, girls, teenagers, preteen, they walk in and they see themselves in our design, and their eyes, it's just so much fun to see their eyes light up. And then they run and get their dads, and their dads come in and buy, whatever is a t-shirt they resonate with. That was the story that reaffirmed, right, and confirmed that we needed to keep going. And so that's what we're doing now, is figuring out how to scale the company.
I love it. And, have you gotten any videos of people's reactions? Like ask them before they even walk in, hey, can we get a release?
No.
And then catch their real live reaction to seeing your stuff. I could see that easily going viral.
I love that idea. No, what we've done is we've taken pictures of them and we've created a little reel afterwards. But I think for our next event, we have to figure out what that would be. But that is a great idea.
Yeah, because honestly, like if you walk around and your culture just never feels represented, and suddenly you just walk into this room that is not only identified to your culture, but identified to you as a woman.
Yes.
Like, that's going to get some pretty strong reactions, some really powerful, emotive reactions out of it.
I love that. I'm going to note that down. I love that idea.
Because you can do that and then clip right into them doing a testimonial on how they felt. But you get that initial reaction is like the first 3 seconds, and then boom.
I love that idea. Are you in marketing?
I am. I have a master's in marketing.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I get the marketing side of it. What I find interesting though is going from the corporate world to the business ownership world. Now for you, it's probably a little different because you were living in the Wild West of the startup world where there really are no rules. There's no fun. There's no standard operating procedures. There's no it's not very structured for people that maybe don't know how the startup world is. If you've watched the show Billions or I could probably think of a million other shows where startups are kind of the Facebook movie.
Yes.
That's not fake. Like it
is not.
The way they work and operate and live, that is not made up. They might heighten the intensity of it a little bit in terms of like the behavior and the reactions people have in the workplace, but the hours, the sleepless nights, doesn't matter who you are, you're on call at all times, but you're also doing that because there's the potential of an IPO.
Yes.
And all of this stock that you got for 8 cents is now worth dollars on dollars, right? So it's like, you're not just working for a paycheck, you're working for potentially a life-changing wealth transfer.
So I would say, I think a lot of folks who in the startup world did not get wealthy.
Right.
But with all the startups I've been with, I have experience walking up to the door literally locked. Like you can't come in because the business is closed, to layoffs, to getting acquired and getting some funding from that, and you continue with the company, to getting acquired and then you get laid off because they don't need you, to taking company public. All of those are very high ups and lows, right, in terms of the emotions. But I don't know. I think I loved it. But I think I got to a point where as I get older, it's sort of like, okay, this is getting kind of old.
Right.
The stability thing, good thing. So David is a teacher. So he's got steady as you can be, right? And so I was the one who was sort of like going in and out of, jobs, but I loved it. And there was definitely some good benefits around it. But I think now I'm just like, well, I just need to go back and do my own thing. I mean, if I worked at these startups, then I should just go and do the crazy hours on my own thing. So,
and that's the part that I don't think people, when they jump from corporate to their own business, really factor in. It is you're really just in your own startup.
Yes.
Yeah. You might not ever IPO. You might not ever do all that, but like the demand is the same. One thing I've always been curious about, and I've heard from people, I used to work for a company called eLoan way back in the day, the first like real online mortgage company. And, I got a job there like right after they IPO'd.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And there was guys in the same job as me making $16 an hour that were pulling up in like Corvettes. And I'm like, what did I miss? What did I not negotiate in my, in my hiring packet? And they're like, oh no, IPO, buddy. They're like, they're like, but at the same time, we also slept here for 11 days straight. Like we had cots in the hallway. And I don't think people realize like that last few days before a company goes public, like you literally don't leave. It's the door's locked, but on the outside and you can't get out.
It's a lot of work. So I had mentioned earlier, there's the demand generation aspect of it. So a lot of startups don't have, the whole brand recognition, right? And so sometimes they jump to demand generation too early, whereas you're trying to generate, acquire leads without getting out there with your brand first. And so that's been a sort of a behavior that I kind of had to learn, not to go to that startup because it's unrealistic, right? You have to go through the whole process of getting your name out there. At the time, there was a lot of PR, right? And social media was just starting. So you just have to be out there. But because some startups obviously are funded and there's expectations to grow and so forth, and they're not, there's the investors are asking, how are you growing? They get to the demand generation part of the marketing too fast and unrealistic. And so I found I've learned, but I've found myself in times where I'm like, this company is not ready, right? Because you do have to invest money, right? In marketing, especially when you're driving pipeline. And so there's been some of those experiences too. So I've had it all. It's just been interesting.
Was there anything that really stood out for you, like in terms of in those experiences that you think any business owner, because I know lots of business owners or aspiring business owners listen to this. Was there anything you took from that was like a learning lesson that you would want other aspiring business owners or current business owners to kind of take away from The good and the bad of those experiences?
Yeah, I think, well, if you're talking about startups and even with a business, it's you won't know when you're going through this process, you just don't know, right?
Mhm.
And you kind of just assume it may fail. You just don't know. And so that's the sort of like the mindset went into a lot of these is like, I don't know what's going to happen. I've experienced failure at startup. I've experienced success. I just don't know what's going to happen. But you just have to have sort of like that personality and take that stress out right away. Right. And I think that's the approach for having a business too, is you don't know what's going to happen, but you won't know what's going to happen until you try also. Right. And so for me, the daily work of prioritizing my day, I'm constantly failing. Right. But for me, as long as I continue to learn from those failures and continue to, the next day start all over again and go back to my little checklist and see what I need to prioritize again. It's at the end of the week, you look back, you actually did a lot of things.
Wait, so you telling me someone as seasoned as you, who's been through everything, is one of the hardest working people I know, you still fail on a daily basis? Like you don't have it all figured out?
All the time.
You're telling me
Every
it's
day.
okay to screw things up and just keep moving?
I think that's the message, is okay to fail, right? And especially because if you're the only sole person, right? If there's two of you, you get to mess up.
So let me ask you this. You're partners with David in this company, right? How is it working with your spouse from a partner standpoint? Does that change things a little bit? Do you guys have to figure out, did you have to figure out that dynamic at all? Or was it kind of thanks to your startup world of like, you guys were already kind of used to that frenetic pace of like him being the steady, base and you kind of being frenetically up and down?
Yes. I think that dance is well understood before we even went into business. And I think he's a very, very supportive partner. And I think he's just sort of like in there because my lived experience is also his lived experience, right? And so he has daughters. We have daughters that we are seeing them live this life that, in our small little community. So he is 100% in. I mean, I might take some of his ideas.
I mean, he can't have all bad ideas.
He can't have all bad. But he's been he's actually a very creative person. In fact, so it's PolyGirl, but then he is a dad. And so with, an athlete and a Kobe Bryant fan who drove the whole girl dad.
Oh, yeah.
Thing.
He was a huge proponent of that.
He came up with do a shirt called PolyGirl Dad. And so sure enough, we created a hat and we presented it at one of the events that we went to. It was it was the bestseller at the event because all the dads are number one supporters and they all walked up. They're like, I have a daughter. And so they bought it. And so they understand the whole concept of girl dad as in PolyGirl Dad. So yes, credit to David for coming up with some really great ideas.
Well, he had to represent himself, right? Like
yes.
he can't get left in the mix. He's putting in work over here as a dad of 5.
Yes.
Like, and I love that too. Cause I mean, even as a boy dad,
yeah.
As a dad, if you're really in the mix, you're proud to tell people you're a dad. Like I love having shirts on that just tell people I'm a dad.
Yes. Yep.
And, that PolyGirl dad, I mean, that makes total sense. There's so many companies right now just going crazy with the dad.
Yes.
With the dad vibes is what I would call it.
Yes. The dad vibes.
Because I think we're finally in a generation where being a dad is more than just the provider, the caretaker, the authoritarian.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's dad can actually have a relationship with you. Dad can be a comfort. Dad can be the guy, not just,
yeah. In fact, I was telling earlier, the girls who ran in and saw themselves went to get their dads, not necessarily their mothers. I mean, maybe dad had the money at the time, but it was basically they ran to get their dads to come buy them the shirts. And then sure, the dads saw the hats. So like, oh, that's me. So I'm going to buy one too. So yes, I think you're right. There's definitely some, I don't know if you call it evolution, but there's definitely some good positive vibes around being a dad and being not just a provider, but also a very loving person who's in touch, right, with the kids.
I think it's an acceptance. There's an acceptance of like, it's okay to have emotions and like care and let your guard down around your kids so they know that you're a person too. You make mistakes, you do things wrong. I think, Hugh Jackman said something that really resonated with me, where he said he was really stressed out about work and some things going on, and realized it might have been rubbing off on his kids. So he sat him down and said, "Hey guys, I want you to understand, like, I'm really stressed out. I'm like not my normal self, and it's not your fault.
Right.
It's about work,
Right.
and it's not you, and it's nothing you're doing." And
Yeah.
they were like, "Wow, thanks." So we thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the kids tend to blame themselves for our behaviors. And so, yeah, I mean, all parents have to figure that out, right? And there's always
Mhm.
guilt. I have
Oh, yeah.
guilt of maybe something I did or say, and that's just something that you're going to have to learn to live with as a parent. But yeah, I think the ability to be in touch with your family and your kids is very, very important these days.
Do you feel like because I know your youngest two have been in the gym
Mhm.
before college, and then when they're home on breaks and stuff, I'll see them around. Do you feel like and David, credit to him as well, your guys' focus on fitness and him being a teacher and like in the athletic world, do you guys
Mhm.
feel like that influenced them
I
in
think
terms of
so.
their like commitment to it?
Yeah, especially my daughter Tiala is going to be a junior in college now, and
Wow.
I brought her here, right, in high school, and she loved it, and she learned how to lift here, right, and so she took that learning, and she's lifting on her own at school.
That's so
She'll send us
amazing.
some pictures, and there are a couple members that she always thinks are like amazing here, like Tarina, for example. She's always asking about how's Tarina, because she always used to watch her
Mm-hmm.
lifting and doing very well. And so she goes home, she's like, I want arms like Tarina. So yes, I think being around us in that environment and those type of people that, that we surround ourselves with, helps them aspire to be that kind of person. So yeah,
Absolutely.
this gym has just been amazing. And I'll just tell you that, Chris, it's just been great for our family. It's great for me personally. And so it's just made some really good friends here. And it's been a wonderful ride.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure to pay you for that testimonial after. And yeah, shout out to Tarina. Tarina is like an incredibly hard worker. She's sometimes there at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m.
I know.
Right. Getting her general fitness in the morning in class, and then coming back and doing some focused work, skill
There's a
work,
couple of those. I mean,
muscles.
Tarina,
Yeah. Bree, there's like
Bree,
Faye.
yes.
Like, there's people just putting in work and really influencing the next generation of women. And I think that's incredible because, again, I think that's another maturation process of our culture, is United States culture, that it's okay for women to be fit and have muscles and still look like women.
Mm-hmm.
Muscles don't suddenly make you a man.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are beautiful and very feminine
Yep.
at the same time. So I think it's beautiful. And by the way, they're mothers. And so going back to what PolyGirl stands for, yes, PolyGirl, Polynesian, Pacific Islander. But if you think again about the many journeys of a woman, these are badass moms, right?
Yeah.
Who are in here working on themselves, who have full-time jobs, who have other lives, and they have dreams of competition,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also raising kids. So yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to say, but are still kind of learning how to say that.
Yeah. Well, your story is going to evolve. You'll look back in a year and the story of PolyGirl and the message it sends will probably be different than today. And maybe not the goal of the message, but the way it's said might have evolved tenfold over into a more clear and concise message. And I've noticed that with CFT, with everything we do, our story's changed countless times.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with what we're trying to get you to understand. It just has to do with the feedback we're getting from our audience in terms of how they're receiving the message and whether or not it's hitting home as that audience evolves.
Yes.
Gets older or gets younger, and that just it ebbs and flows with the market.
Yep. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you own several businesses, right? And so you're doing great in terms of getting the message out. You've got this beautiful setting for your podcast and so forth. How do you do it in terms of like juggling family, running several different businesses? I run one business. You run several different businesses.
Well, first off, I'm the one asking questions around here. Okay. No, I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah. So I just continue to dig until I feel like I'm suffocating. And then I know I've got enough businesses and it's time to stop growing for a little bit. But no, in reality, I focus on people versus anything else. I put people first. So for me, having the right people,
Mm-hmm.
I can train them how to do just about anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always use Alex as an example. She's an amazing part of the gym. No fitness knowledge whatsoever when she started.
Yep.
Really very little business knowledge.
Yep.
But she just kept whatever I'd throw at her, she'd just go, okay, I got it, with a great attitude and like learn. And I would teach and train. And, now she's the general manager of CFT, and she allows me the flexibility to go play in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Her and Shannon, basically they run the show, and then my team at CFT, I don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to show up at 5 a.m. to coach.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about if a class needs covering, that someone isn't going to jump in and help to the team, right?
Yeah.
If someone gets sick, whatever, it's not like, oh, well, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
It's just not that attitude and that culture. And I'm really fortunate for that.
Okay.
And because I put the right people in place, it allows me to play in the sandbox that I want to be in, which is this media world. It's the podcast world. It's something that I realized 23 years ago that I should have been my path from the beginning.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally getting a chance to really dig into it. Same with APL, like Vinny just crushes it. Like it takes very little time from me. My job is more as the vision to be able to see what's coming down, like seeing past the curve and kind of knowing how to steer, and giving him like all right, there's your coordinates, kind of stay at that direction, for now, even if it might not make sense, just trust me.
Yeah.
And that way I get to play in the clouds.
Yeah.
And that's where I belong.
So it's the team, right?
Right. It's the team, but it's also understanding your skills and your strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
When you're first starting a business, you're everything.
Yep.
Janitor, marketer, right? Bad guy, the good guy, and everything in between.
Myself.
Yep.
You're
the model. And you are absolutely your worst boss you've ever had. No one can talk shit to you better than yourself.
Absolutely.
And I tell people that all the time. Like, you started a business to get away from shitty bosses, only to realize you are the absolute worst boss you've ever worked for. And you have to break that chain and realize that you don't get the chance to dictate.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give yourself the chance to dictate good and bad. You have to look at data. And I know you like me are not data oriented, but we still need data to provide us the feedback necessary.
Yeah.
Of, are we all going in the right direction?
Yeah. You have to be directionally correct.
Right. So I hire people that are data oriented.
Yeah.
So when I meet with them, they can give me straight facts on data.
Yeah.
So that I can go, okay, that we seem to be tracking in the right way. Or I might see something on a weekly basis that's like, oh no, we are not.
Yep.
We need to get ahead of this now, or we're going to completely miss the ship.
Yep.
So, it's a constant thing, right? But the goal is to I look at it as an escalator.
Yeah.
When you're the business owner, you're starting at the very bottom, you're going up, and you have all the hats.
Yeah.
And then over time, you maybe drop the janitor hat, and someone comes behind you and grabs that. And then you might drop the admin hat, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do posting and all those things. So you hire someone for a couple bucks an hour to do that part-time. So someone picks that hat up off a hook on the escalator, and you keep going up, and then you drop another. And then it's down to really the specific things you are the best at that you couldn't hire out, or at least afford to hire out to do at a higher level than you could do.
And you enjoy the most too.
Right. I mean, it should definitely be the things you enjoy the most. And that's something I learned recently was they said, answer these 3 questions. And one of them was, what is the one thing that you can do that makes the most money?
Yep.
What is the one thing that you can do that pushes the company forward? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be financial. And what is the one thing that you love doing that you don't want to give up?
Yeah.
And that should be your role. Just those 3 things as the CEO. When you've achieved that CEO level and you have a number 2 in command that's kind of running the day-to-day, those are the only 3 things you should be doing.
That's wonderful to hear. So one day we'll get there. There's one of my favorite business books is called Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Love that book.
And so as he's talking about starting a business, as you grow and you get to that point, the first thing you do is actually fill that bus, right? With the right people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you've done is you've trusted to, get the seats in the bus with the right folks so you can continue navigating and growing the company. So I love that.
I love that you brought that up because I use that with my staff all the time. I'm like, guys, sometimes we got the right people. They're just not in the right seat.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, well, we're not on a bus. So can you be a little more clear what the hell you're talking about? I'm like, they're doing this role and they are trying their hardest. It's not a lack of want or desire or commitment. They're just not in the right seat.
Right.
We need to move them over to this seat where
Yes.
their skills can be highlighted.
Yep.
And that commitment is they're going to just amplify that position.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes complete sense.
Right. And so the shortest way I could have answered that was I find the right people with the right personalities. I get them on the bus and then I figure out where they sit.
Love it.
Yep.
A process for us at PolyGirl to look forward to.
Right. And you know what? It takes years, so you can't rush it either. Especially with apparel. I've owned an apparel company. It is a crazy business and it is not something that just takes off. It's not something you can just open the door and market and suddenly poof, you're in it. Like you are in such a deep, treacherous water with a lot of sharks.
Yes. Yes.
And you have to stand out without bleeding.
Right.
So,
and that's so true. So the thing that carries us is definitely our story and our target audience. We know, right? We believe in this and we've seen it. We've gotten the confirmation, but we know it's a long road, right? In terms of there's 1.6 million Pacific Islanders in America, right? We have 2,000 Instagram followers. So we've got a long road to go in terms of.
I love that data point.
So we're just, growing and we love it. But we do believe this is going to be something that's going to be fantastic.
Well, you've done one thing that most people make a mistake of when they first open a business. Almost, I would say 95% of any business owner I've ever talked to opens thinking that they're for everyone.
Yeah. No.
Whereas you guys opened knowing exactly who you're for and who you're not for.
Yeah,
and that that's years of runway for a lot of companies.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of skipped all of that by going, there's 1.6 million people that are for us.
Yes.
The other, I don't even know how many are in America because again, data, not my thing. I think it's like 200 million. So like there's 198 million people that are not necessarily our target demographic and client. Yeah. So it makes it really easy for you to just like get your story and the way you communicate very narrow and specific. And that is.
Yeah, it's key, right? I mean, we may not be about like big data, but in terms of like just your basics, right? It's very necessary. So we know now that we've got some confirmation that there's need. We know how many web traffic we need to drive. That's all part of demand generation, right? We know the conversion. We know our, average price. So we know all these things. So now we just need to now move to the process of actually now running the company that way.
Do you feel like data is, would you put data as like an incredibly important thing to know as a business owner? Because I feel like, especially for someone like me, like I'm all about the feels and I sometimes don't care enough about data. Do you feel like that was something that was maybe an inhibitor for some of these startups where they were just kind of rocking on feels and valuations and...
Yeah, I think data is very, very important. And again, I may not study it completely, but part of being in marketing, you just have to know like who is your target audience, like step one.
Yeah.
1 million or is it one person, right? You just need to know that. And you just kind of work down. I mean, it's different now, but when I first started marketing, there's this whole funnel thing, there's 1.6. You can get like, a percent of that into to know who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Percent of that. And then, by the way, maybe 1% will buy, right? So this whole thing is important to know who's in what within your funnel. I think that's still very, very important.
Yeah.
But anecdotal is also very, very important, such as the example I used earlier, which is they walked in and they saw themselves. I mean, that's not anything I can measure other than how I, like my heart.
How you make people feel.
Yes. So
qualitative still matters. Yes. Right. That's amazing. I want to know, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to respect your time. I know you're very busy. Is there anything you would tell a younger Alice, somebody in her 20s, 30s, that's maybe like, I want to start a business now, but I don't want to lose out on my fitness. I still want to be healthy. Like, do you have any anecdotes or tips or tricks that could help people maybe understand how to maybe get out of a rut that they're in, or they're stuck in a rat race where they don't feel like they have time for their fitness or their health or their family, and they're struggling in one of those
Yeah.
F's?
So fitness, I feel like is sort of like the driving force of my day. So even when in my 20s and 30s, whatever job I was going to, I was always going to a gym. So I think it's just, again, it's just a mindset or like a priority you as a person has to have. I don't think you can get through life without being active. Whether it's, again, you can go to CrossFit or you can go to another gym or you go running or you go hiking. But I think it's very, very important that you get yourself out there. There is something that happens with your body when you're moving, right? And so that helps you think clearly and that helps you sort of set your day up again. And I think if you're struggling mentally, it's because you're also struggling physically. I think they go hand in hand. So I think if I was to tell somebody in their 20s, if they're struggling with their career, what have you, is hit the gym.
I love that. So even if they only have like 10 minutes,
yes,
find something to do with that 10 minutes that's physically challenging to wake your brain and your body up.
Somebody told me, and I forgot who it is, but there's something about vibration,
Okay.
right? Where if you have 10 minutes and you can't do anything like weightlifting, jump up and down.
Burpees, man.
Yes, burpees, right? And there's something about the vibration that just changes your physical state, your mental state by moving. So I think, again, if they're struggling with issues around whether it's health or mental, just get moving. Right?
I love that. Where can they find you? Where can they find PolyGirl?
So our website is polygirlofficial.com.
Love that.
And so we're putting up new items almost every week. And we're also at Instagram at PolyGirl Official on Instagram. So we're doing some videos and stuff there. It's fun.
We'll make sure to get all that in the description. We'll also make sure during this podcast, you probably saw if you were watching it, you probably saw some graphics of the apparel, what they're doing. We'll try to get some B-roll of stuff that they did at events so you guys can get an idea of how everything looks and where you can find them next. Is there any events you have coming up that they can find you at, or is that still to be determined?
To be determined, but we've got our eyes on a couple in the August and September timeframe.
Okay.
One in San Diego and potentially in Washington. So we're trying to get out of the Bay Area.
Yeah, but there is quite a few in the Bay Area if people wanted to find you. Yes. Polynesian events is the best place they're going to find you for pop-ups.
Yes.
Right on. Sure. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate your time. And obviously I've known you for a long time. So this is, I'm honored to have you on. So thank you.
I'm very honored. And thank you so much for inviting me. This has been fantastic. And to be one of the first people to experience this amazing setting.
Yeah. You and Alexis. That's it.
Love it.
Powerful women. And as always, keep digging in.